Hi guys, David Stone here, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is really useful as a foundational place to begin thinking about how do we move to fearlessness, and that is the nature of fear and what is the difference between fear and anxiety. See, it's really kind of a scale, it's a spectrum if you want, because fear is a really useful biological response to a threat. So, and it comes from our evolution millions of years ago when we were running around in the jungle or in the savannah or whatever, and there were saber-toothed tigers ready to jump on you and eat you. And that kind of biological response to a real danger that we see, a real and present danger that my life is in jeopardy right now. Well, that kind of response is really, really useful. And what happens physiologically is that when you perceive fear, your body responds in a certain way. Adrenaline gets pumped into your system. Cortisol gets pumped into your system. And these are hormones and substances that are designed to induce that, put you on that high alert status that gets you ready to take action. So, translated into today's world, you step off the curb, you happen to look to the left, and there's this bus coming at you. And you have that instant fear response, which is really good thing to have, because instantly your body is prepped, your heartbeat goes up, your breathing rate increases, your muscles tense up, and you are ready to take instant action to do something about it. And you jump back out of the way, and the bus goes by, and you're safe. Now, at that point, what happens is that red alert response goes down. The adrenaline stops pumping into your veins and it dissipates, and your breathing rate, your heart rate go back down, settle back down. Why? Because the danger is gone. Anxiety, though, is a different kind of response. It's within the fear spectrum, there's no question, because what happens is we perceive that there's a threat. The thing with anxiety, though, and worry, is that the threat we're perceiving is somehow more vague or off in the future somewhere. And it's unclear as to what we can do right now in this moment to address that fear. So now, I perceive that my retirement is going to be problematic from a financial point of view. I perceive that, I've got this mole on my arm and I'm concerned about it. Will that turn into something that's going to threaten my health? So these are situations that we can't do, we're unclear what we can do right now, and yet the body still responds to that fear-based threat that it perceives. And so the adrenaline pumps in, the cortisol pumps in, but there's no clear action that we can take right now. And so when your body stays on that high alert status for a long time, or for continued period of time, some really bad things happen, because those substances are not intended to be in your bloodstream and in your system long term. They're there for an emergency response, a short-term emergency response. When they're there for a long period of time, they become toxic in your body. And, they can cause all kinds of breakdown and disease, and we get high blood pressure, and we get gastrointestinal problems. We get, it can lead to diabetes. It can lead to all kinds of really bad things. So the fear response, the real and present danger, is a really, really useful one, and one that we don't want to go away. But the anxiety response isn't useful at all. It's very different than, some people say, well, my anxiety is, that's how I solve problems. No, it isn't. See, problem solving is a very different kind of activity than anxiety. Anxiety is where you just go around and around and around and around, rethinking the same perceived problem. Problem solving is where you sit down and say, okay, here is the problem. Let's look at my alternative actions. Let's weigh the risks. Let's decide on a course of action, and let's start moving towards it. And then let's evaluate the results we're getting and then change course if we're not getting the results we want. And that's very different than simply worrying or being anxious and lying awake at night. So I want your takeaway from today is, let's just understand that difference between fear and anxiety. Now, again, they're all related, and it's just different degrees of it, but it's also what we're able to do in the moment. Fear is a really useful biological response to a very, very present and immediate danger. Anxiety, though, is response to something that is more vague and off in the future. And the way we handle that is very different. And of course, we're going to get into more as we go on with these daily chats, and in the book, Unsubscribe from Anxiety, we can learn how to deal with that anxiety and make choices about those responses. But in the meantime, I'm going to be back with you again in the next episode very soon as we learn to live fearlessly.